Hey guys, Technomentor here with the video for you guys. In today's video, we're going to be reviewing the iPhone XS versus the iPhone 7 in a head-to-head comparison to compare the hardware, the software, and overall performance of these two phones in 2021 running iOS 14, and what can you expect from it, whether you're buying either of these, deciding to buy between either of these two phones, or looking to upgrade from the iPhone 7 to the iPhone XS. In this video, we're going to break all of that down and everything that you need to know to make that decision. But before we go ahead and get started, if you guys are new to our channel, we do a lot of tech news, reviews, and giveaways, so make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, if you guys are in the market for one of these phenomenal devices or any of the newer iPhones, make sure you guys check out that link in the description. We're including the discounted iPhones that you can find today on the internet. So let's go ahead and get started with today's video. Of course, the iPhone 7 was released back in 2016, around that September timeframe of when Apple does the releases, and the iPhone XS was released 2 years later in 2018 around the September timeframe. So a lot has changed between these two devices because of that 2-year difference. Of course, technology has evolved and changed, and what are those? We're going to go ahead and talk about it. But first, let's talk about the hardware of these two phones, and the hardware we mean is the actual build of these two devices. If we hold them side by side together, you'll notice astonishingly a lot of differences between that two devices. Of course, the first difference you notice between these two devices is that the iPhone 7 here we have is in the black color here, and the iPhone XS is the gold color. Both of these two phones come in that typical silver, your space gray / black color edition, and of course your gold edition. But the iPhone 7 does have a couple other colors. You also have jet black. You're also able to get it in rose gold and also a special product, red gold. So a lot more color out of the iPhone 7 compared to the iPhone XS. And the other thing we want to talk about is the actual storage that you get out of the iPhone 7. Gives you the base model at 32 gig compared to the iPhone XS, which starts at 64 gig. So double the amount of the base you can get. And the iPhone here on the 7, you're able to get at the max of 256 gig versus the iPhone XS, which goes up all the way to 512 gig. So if you're looking for more storage, iPhone XS does give you more of that. Let's talk about the build of these two phones. You notice a lot of difference between it. Of course, both of them does have that front glass to it, but the back does not have the glass. The iPhone XS does have the glass back, which allows it to do wireless charging, which is not available on the iPhone 7, unfortunately, because of that aluminum body. And the body build of these two phones are slightly different material. Of course, the iPhone XS does have that surgical grade stainless steel body versus that aluminum body on the iPhone 7. And there's a couple pros and cons to this, is that the iPhone XS, although it does have that glass back, allows you wireless charging, it's easily be crackable like the front glass. If you drop it and don't have a case, it can crack and shatter. Unlike the iPhone 7, because of that aluminum body, of course, that won't crack. Probably will get dent if it gets dropped. The front screen might crack though. And you notice a couple other differences is that the iPhone 10 does have that dual camera, the second telephoto camera, versus that only one camera on the iPhone 7. And the other thing you'll notice is that print on the iPhone XS is no longer there. And then if we take a look at comparison of the body of the bezel here on the side, you'll notice the iPhone XS does have that shinier bezel, where the iPhone 7 of that aluminum body is just that matte bezel. And then the charging port and all of that you'll notice down here below between these two devices. And let's talk about these two phones. One thing we want to talk about is, of course, the weight of these two phones. Of course, slightly different sort of variation. The iPhone XS is a little over 6 ounces versus the iPhone 7, which is under 5 ounces. Of course, the bigger body does make it slightly heavier on the hands, and the bigger body also, depending on what kind of hands you have. If you have smaller hands, the iPhone 7 fits really well. But if you're smaller to medium hands, maybe the iPhone XS does give a better feel to it. Of course, there is the XS Max version, which is the bigger one, which the iPhone 7, if you're comparing, there is the Plus version of it, which Apple has rebranded. So here there's a lot of differences between these two phones, but of course they also have similarities in a lot of ways. And let's talk about the screen size of these two phones. You'll notice, of course, the screen size here between them are obviously different, and a lot because in the older generation of the iPhones, you had the top notch, you have that legacy home button to it, which is not available because of that 5.8 diagonal all-screen OLED display, that Super Retina display, compared to the iPhone 7, which has that 4.7 display, which is evident on the iPhone 6 as well. And because of that OLED technology, the iPhone XS does give you that HDR display. It gives you a better resolution. You're getting a 2436 by 1125 pixel at 458 ppi compared to the iPhone 7, which has half that resolution. It has 1334 by 750 pixel resolution at 326 ppi. Also, another thing to note about it, between the contrast resolution of that OLED gives you 1,000,000:1 contrast ratio, which you get 14:1 for the iPhone 7. The other thing, noticeable difference between it is on the iPhone on XS, you also have this true tone display, which is not available on the iPhone 7 because it wasn't released until the iPhone 8. True tone basically allows a phone to automatically adjust the display based on the ambient light to make the color feel more consistent around its different environment. And of course, similarities between that both of these phones have a wide color display, 3D touch, and they also have, although they're OLED and LCD, you have on the iPhone, both of them are able to omit that 625 nit max brightness to both of the phones. And the other aspect we want to talk about is on these two devices is splash water and dust resistant. The iPhone 7 has about 6 IP60 rating compared to the iPhone XS, which has 68 rating. What does that really mean? Well, the iPhone 7 can be in depth of 1 meter up to 30 minutes compared to the iPhone XS, which can be up to 2 meters at 30 minutes. So what does that really mean? Well, if you're taking both of the phones for devices for a swim, the iPhone 10, because it has that back and front glass, if anything is cracked or damaged between either of these devices, water can easily get in one way or another. So you probably want to stay away from it. Let's talk about the chip on these two devices, which is another important aspect of these devices. Because the iPhone 7 was released in 2016, it only has that A10 Bionic chip, or it used to be called actually the Fusion chip, where on the iPhone XS has a 12 Bionic chip and also has that second generation neural engine, which really allows you to do a little bit more heavier gaming like Fortnite and PUBG that's available on the iPhone. And let's go talk about the battery of these two phones, which is another aspect we really want to talk about, because battery life really does matter between these two devices. What can you expect when you're looking at the battery life of these two phones? Well, a couple things you're going to expect in the battery life of these two phones. You're going to notice that they have slightly different battery capacity, but very similar in a way. The iPhone 7 does give you about 13 hours of video playback compared to the iPhone XS, which gives you 14 hours. So because the iPhone XS does have a bigger battery because of OLED, which consumes a lot more battery to give you that OLED display, you don't get much advantage of the iPhone getting more battery life. Of course, if you're a light to medium user, both of these phones, if you're using it for light to medium calling, texting, browsing, apps here and there, both of the phones will get you throughout the day on a full single charge. But if you're a heavier user, both of the phones probably get you halfway to 3/3 of your day before you need a charge. So that's the battery part about these two phones. And now let's talk about the most fun side of these two phones is iOS 14 on these devices. Both of the phones are able to update to iOS 14, and we have updated to iOS 14, have done reviews of it, and so far we found that both of the phones are able to do pretty much a lot of similarities. iOS updates what makes pretty much the iPhone differentiate between these two phones. And we notice both of the phones are able to run iOS 14 with all of the apps. So if you're looking to download apps for whether it be watching videos, playing games, both of the phones can do that. Of course, you'll see we are able to do a lot of that between it. Of course, because the iPhone XS does have that bigger body display, it's much easier in a lot of ways when you're gaming and such because of that bigger display, just that resolution and just that fun experience that you get on it. But nonetheless, both of the phones will allow you to do all of the basic needs for your social media, your shopping, in your productivity tools. All of those apps and tools are there, no doubt. We are able to see that both of the apps support those apps because it is on iOS 14. But one thing we want to talk about iOS 14 is that because iOS 14 was updated and because of their difference between their life, there's going to be sort of difference in terms of how much update both of these can get. We suspect the iPhone 7 might get iOS 15, so we're not really sure if it will or not because iPhone 6 has stopped updates. iPhone 6s still gets iOS 14 update, but the 7, not quite sure if we'll actually get another year of update. Maybe, maybe not. It's a 50-50 chance. Well, compared to that, the iPhone XS will get at least 2 more updates. We suspect another 2 to 3 years support of major updates. So if you're looking for a phone for the long run, the iPhone XS is probably something you want to get because the iPhone 7 might not get the next update. And if you're looking to get it, and what happens is once phones don't get updated is that apps start slowing down, you have lag, and apps might not even be downloadable on it. Of course, even on iOS 12 and 13, you're able to download most apps, but some of the apps start to get away from allowing you to do updates to it. And now finally, to conclude between these two phones, we want to talk about the camera that you get, of course, on these two phones. Slightly variation of camera. Of course, if you look on camera, both of them allows you to do simple photography. But if you go to portrait mode, which isn't available on the iPhone 7 here, it's a disadvantage. Of course, the iPhone, because of the dual camera and single camera, portrait mode is not allowed. One thing you'll notice is the square mode that's available on the iPhone 7, not available on the iPhone XS. So if you really like the square mode, maybe you do or not, it's something to look at. The other difference between it is around video photography. So what kind of photography video can you get out of the iPhone? Both of them actually can record 4K, but the 4K limitation on the iPhone 7 is that it's able to do up to 30 frames per second compared to the iPhone XS, which goes up to 60 frames per second. So just that camera difference between it. And other things you'll notice is that because of that dual camera, you have that telephoto camera, you have dual optical 2 times the zoom, which is then available on the iPhone 7, and also that portrait mode. You also have smart HDR on the iPhone 7, which only has that HDR. So of course the iPhone XS wins in terms of camera. If you're looking for photography, you might want to go with the XS. And finally, to conclude our video, which of these phones is worth it in 2021? Well, of course, if you're looking for a phone that's going to last you another couple more years, you're getting a lot of features, better camera, slightly better battery, and that big display that's going to it, you probably want to go with the iPhone XS with the bigger resolution and just that lot of more out of it than in 2021. iPhone 7, again, it's a budget-friendly phone. Maybe you don't have the budget to spend around $400 or $500 on an iPhone XS because that's how much they go for, even if you're buying it pre-owned. The iPhone 7, which you can probably score under 200, maybe even under 150 or so, or even less, depending on where you get it. And it's a budget-friendly phone for a beginner or someone looking to use the iPhone, get that out there, get a feel for it, and that will still be around for maybe another year or two. And you're looking to basic stuff, iPhone 7, a budget-friendly phone, probably is something you want to look at. Of course, a lot of the features aren't available like you have on the iPhone XS. So there you guys have it for that video. We also need to hear from you guys. What do you guys think about these phones? If you guys are using either of these phones, how has it been for you guys and the experience have been like? Leave a comment in the comment section. Thanks for watching, guys. See you guys next time.